So I'm going to start off with a little like politics joke just from that. Look, this was me before I became a Bitcoiner, okay? With, the Federal Reserve Chairman now himself, or board member himself, okay? This is me after I became a Bitcoiner. So this is me, Brian Harrington. My day job is I work for an app called Choice App. We're the fastest, simplest way to get Bitcoin into your IRA. So you pull it out of Schwab, pull it out of Fidelity, pull it out of TD Ameritrade, pull it out of the legacy world, and you can get it into Bitcoin. And so Choice App is my day job. I'll be doing an afternoon session on personal finances and kind of how I think about my personal finances and how I think of, in the same way that we have different stacks of fiat for different things, you can also have different stacks of Bitcoin for different things. And so in the afternoon session, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin budgeting and just personal finance. In this one right here, I'm going to talk about the official name of the session is Bitcoin payments and like getting implemented with Bitcoin payments. But the reason why I'm kind of like starting at the meetup level is because the social layer, the social aspect of you all being here and us like choosing to use Bitcoin instead of fiat money is the precursor to like talking about the guts of like actually getting Bitcoin onto your point of sale system. That's actually the easy part. Like doing all the social work and the social layer before that is the hard part. So that's what we're going to cover. I'm going to give my disclaimer too. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a Bitcoiner. Like this is just Brian, Bitcoiner. Started buying Bitcoin in 2015 off Coinbase, same as like probably a lot of you, and I've just kept going ever since. So like this is Brian who likes Bitcoin instead of fiat money, personally talking about like my experience of onboarding businesses and doing meetups. So with that, I'm going to play another video and kind of give you background on the meetup that I help run in Orange County. Okay, so yeah, BTC Pay Server is a free and open source Bitcoin payment processor, no fees. You run the software yourself, and like you fully get custody of the money as soon as it crosses over the counter. In the video, I used a term called circular economy, and so I just wanted to define that quick, and so we're all on the same page with that. Circular economy is actually an engineering term, and it talks about it's a closed loop system that designs out waste. And so it's a closed. You also hear it a lot in like the green movement, just like recycling, and like so there's no waste. You're using all the available elements. And so when I talk about Bitcoin circular economy, the waste we're designing out is fiat money, because fiat money is like a hole in the bottom of the bathtub. We're like always we're like churning and churning and churning and working. But value, as like Trent went over in the initial session, like the money is being debased. The money itself that we're sitting on and we're working for isn't super working anymore. And so all of our collective efforts, like we are continuing to leak value out the bottom. So a Bitcoin circular economy keeps everything inside. So if that definition didn't hit it home, and if this didn't hit it home, I think this will. Mind tricks don't work on me, only money. What if your business said that? What if your business started saying that? Credits aren't good here anymore. We only take Bitcoin. What would happen? What would happen? What would a Bitcoin economy with no fiat look like? I'm honestly like super honored to like be like talking after like a former like Nebraska like member of the legislature, because that's honestly really humbling. Like, and it's cool to be here with all of you, because I do believe in like the freedom movement of Bitcoin and the freedom aspect of Bitcoin, and I do believe in like the social good that it's doing. But we're living during transitionary times, and so there's realities and like interesting questions. And so talking about your business taking Bitcoin and talking about paying in Bitcoin does bring up a lot of kind of legal questions and just logistical questions and things like that. That I'm going to tackle a few of those here today. But before that, so I'm going to get into the guts of just how it connects to your payment processor, and I'm going to overcome a few objections of just, well, why would I want to spend my good money? Why wouldn't I spend my bad money? And I'm going to talk about the cap gains tax issue. I'm going to talk about each of those, and I'm going to talk about solutions that Bitcoiners are coming up with. But I want to say like kind of the same thing. This isn't like this is a workshop. This is a workshop. Like you guys are all members of this also. And so would a few people just like raise their hands and kind of say like where they're from and like what do you hope to learn from today? Because that'll help me just like continue to kind of draw in and make sure I'm go. Yep. Let's jump off right there, because I like what you just said about practical implementations. And so I'm going to echo this again too. I'm trying to, the purpose of me just kind of talking today is I'm honestly giving you just kind of a colloquial like things that are working in practice. Like Bitcoin is such a funny thing that it's kind of when you try to talk to economists about it, like, well, that'll never work in theory. I'm like, okay, well, it's this is what people are doing over here. So I'm not sure like what the theory is saying, but like this is what people are doing over here. So I'm going to show like real examples of, just kind of how this is happening. Okay, so this restaurant is called Next Burger. This is their Newport Beach location, and this was a meetup we did there. And so, two things with this. I just want to show you that everyone that you're here, like you're part of something bigger, like, and you're part of something really, really big. This isn't a random thing that like Edward and like some of the guys like put together and like come to this thing. No, like this is a global movement. Like Bitcoin's been around since 2009, like 12 years. Like so, this is a thing that's happening. And adoption is happening, and when when businesses take Bitcoin, or when you talk about Bitcoin, people show up. People show up like in person and like do it. And so I love that. And so this restaurant, they use the Toast point of sale system, and we helped install BTC Pay server for them. They have 3 locations. And so what happens is when they close out their ticket on the Toast point, so they type up everything, the burger and the fries, just like they normally would inside Toast. What happens is that they then hit print receipt, or so they added the tender type. So previously in the point of sale, there was only credit, debit, and cash, but they added a tender type, Bitcoin, and they kind of treated it like cash. So they click tender type Bitcoin, close out the ticket, and then what happens is they close Toast, open BTC Pay server, open that up, and then they flip the screen over, and it's just like this nice like Square terminal checkout that you all just like pay with your phone on that. And so from a practical standpoint, that's what happened. But exactly, let's jump straight to the like question, which is the main question. Okay, so what about cap gains tax? And what about, so there's 2 sides, right? It's the customer side. What about cap gains tax, which kind of there's a chicken or the egg problem where like, why would you pay with it? And there's also because Bitcoin is better money, why would I give away my Bitcoin? We're all in accumulation mode. We all realize the time that we're in, like 99% of the supply is gone by 2035, so we're just in accumulation mode. So tackle both those things. And this is an app, like the easy button. It's called Strike app. They did not send me here. I just this is a tool that is like changing the world. And so let's pull up their website while we talk about them. This is like I basically just say it's Venmo that speaks Bitcoin. And so what's the main issue? The main issue when you send Bitcoin across the counter, if I send it from Cash App, if I send it from Coinbase, I have a cost basis on it, right? And so if I buy that hamburger at an increased cost basis, then there's a reporting requirement. Strike app does something really clever where it actually holds a USD balance. And so later in my personal finance talk, I'll go deeper inside this, but it's kind of I see it as like a Bitcoin checking account, because when you're doing just your cost benefit analysis, if you were already going to swipe your debit card at that restaurant anyways, why not just move that USD into Strike app, and then when you scan that QR code, so you hit pay, pulls up a QR code scanner. When you scan a Bitcoin QR code, your fiat leaves, they receive Bitcoin. So that's how we're solving that initial part, and that's how we solve 2 things. You, as the Bitcoiner and as the accumulator, you're continuing to get your stack. Keep accumulating, keep doing whatever you're doing to just dollar cost average into the future and continue to accumulate the better money. But now, when a business does what happened in Star Wars and said, hey, pay us some better money, you are able to like lean into the better economy and support a local business in your area that's like doing that, and solve that for them. So then we'll tackle it on the kind of business side. From the business side, your reporting requirement is it's the same as taking cash. Bitcoin is digital cash. And so you can, and because you're charging in USD, so we'll talk about that later, also. A lot of people talk about, well, how do we do business in Bitcoin if the value is fluctuating all the time? Like, if you pay them and then it goes down the next day. So the way you get around that is we still all think in dollars. Like dollars is the reserve currency. Dollars is the reserve currency of our mind. Like we grew up on dollars. This guy came to our meetup that came here from India, and he said when he switched from rupees to dollars is when he started getting paid in dollars. And he actually stopped, and when you would like look at his car payment or look at his rent or look at whatever, he got to the point where he stopped doing the math backwards. Because we all have what's the average rent in Omaha? You all kind of have that number in your head, like in dollars. And where's that from? It's not like published anywhere. It's just you just know that from like talking to your friends and doing it, being in the marketplace. what's the average cost for a beer in Omaha? We all have that like number like in our head, and that's always in dollars. And so I try to tell people, don't jump. We're in transitionary times, and businesses, you shouldn't try to jump to like charging in sats. Let's just cover that here right now. Who knows sats? Good, love it. Let's just cover that right now. There's 100 million sats in one Bitcoin. So that's the other way you get around a lot of this too, of where a common thing people ask is like, what happens when all the Bitcoin runs out? There's not really like, the Bitcoin doesn't run out. Because again, we're developing a closed loop system. The money just gets better. Like the purchasing power of the money always gets better. But while we're in the transitionary times, what's going to happen is the receipt's going to get printed out in dollars. You're going to price your things in dollars, but the customer is going to tender in Bitcoin. So they're going to tender in the dollar equivalent of Bitcoin. And so then your reporting requirement is just like taking cash. And so then you and your business can treat that the same. What's going to happen is a small group in your town is going to start doing this. And then why would they pay? They would pay because they care about the future. They would pay because they care about freedom. They would pay because they care about Bitcoin and because they want to see this like movement happen and movement keep growing. And they would use the tools that are available to make sure their Bitcoin stack is always going up and your Bitcoin stack is always going up. What's awesome about like this app is, so like I verifiably need my teeth cleaned. Like I go to work and I earn like the currency that I earn, and then the surplus of it goes into Bitcoin, and then the bills portion goes back to like other people. It's a super win-win if you're telling me that I can get the teeth cleaned that I need, and I can increase the Bitcoin stack of another Bitcoiner. That's like benefiting me double, because I was already going to spend that money anyways. And so that's how the mental work of like of that goes over. So I don't know on the legal side, but I do know on just the accounting side, the business should just hold on to that Bitcoin, because only say like 1% of your customers start doing it. Are you able to run the rest of up your supply chain and do everything else you need to do and cover all the other aspects that you need to do with the 99% of payments going the other way? Hopefully. And if you have like if you do start to crush it, I'll actually get to I'll show you another payment processor that does let you split it, and so you can set like 50% to go back to your bank account, 50% to go to like your Bitcoin wallet. And so yeah, I definitely see like a thing for that also. So in Bitcoin, there's kind of always, what happens when you get deeper and deeper into finding Bitcoin solutions for your business or personally, what's going to happen is two things. There's kind of the free and open source route that's a little bit harder to implement, and you kind of have to really dig in and like spend a few afternoons kind of learning it. And then there's the software as a service and like startups that are like really filling needs. And so what you're talking about is still a great solution. So Opennode would do kind of what we're talking about. And I agree with you. The Bitcoin so who knows Bitcoin Lightning Network? Okay, so Bitcoin Lightning Network is a second layer on top of Bitcoin. And it helps the faster transactions and more transactions, because it's not having to settle to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin does, like the Bitcoin base layer was a mathematical computer science like step forward for humanity, because when I pass you Bitcoin, it's verifiably not in my wallet anymore, and now it's in your wallet. That was never possible digitally before, because if I send you an email, we both have a copy of the email, so that's not going to work for money. But when I send you Bitcoin, it's like verifiably not in my wallet anymore. So Lightning Network is a layer on top that then settles to Bitcoin. So yeah, and you're correct. Lightning Network has cheaper fees than regular credit card processing. So to my payment processor guys, what's going to happen and what is developing is probably what's going to happen is you either have your team do the tech chops and run BTC Pay Server yourself, run your own instance of BTC Pay Server, and you put on your consulting fee on top of that and implement that. Or what's going to happen is you're going to have to go to places like Opennode, and you're going to have to develop your affiliate relationships, and you're going to have to plug them in. And so from the payment processor perspective, yes, both have their own versions of like what the checkout screen looks like. Yes, Lightning has lower processing fees than credit cards, and that's a big reason why places are talking about it too. Opennode is actually had a pretty big bump this last week because they're processing McDonald's in El Salvador. So that's them. let's talk about, this actually is a good, okay, so I'm sorry that it's in red. This is actually my Twitter handle. My DMs are open. So like as you're thinking about things, you can like shoot me notes on there right now, or like again afterwards, send me notes because I'll jam on this with like anyone all the time. So Brain Harrington, shoot me DMs here. All right, so we talked about, we're at the kind of the halfway point. So let's do a little summary. We talked about the definition of circular economy. We talked about just kind of Republic credits are no good here. You know, pay us in Bitcoin instead of paying us in fiat. We kind of talked about spending versus hodling a little bit and how the user wants to hodl their Bitcoin. And I completely agree, fully agree. What happened a lot in the early days of Bitcoin is, because we don't know. Like this is the first time this has ever happened. This is the first time a new money like monetized from zero kind of into this rapid 12-year pace. And so a lot of people believed that it was going to be for payments off the bat really, really, really fast. And a lot of the most well-funded startups were kind of these payment processor things. But what would happen is they would get a little bit of adoption, and then the people that would like work the front counters, the coffee shops and stuff, you know, the turnover, and it would be just like, you know how when you go to a liquor store or whatever, and there's like 3 different signs about apps they take, but they're like just all shoved to the corner, and the guy's just like doing the main thing. Dude, that's the reality. That's the reality of being a small business person. And like something that was really impressive about Next Burger is my friend who runs that restaurant, like really like sent out training materials and like held employee happy hours and like really talked to the like his front of the line staff about like this is gonna happen. And because, well, I'll fast forward to meetups and I'll fast forward to tipping bartenders, because Orange County had that community, he probably gets like 2 or 3 people a month that are like coming in and paying the burgers. And so for your businesses, I would like just get to the point where like 2 or 3 are coming in a month, or even 1 a month. And if you get to just 1 a month and you start running over these gears of like finding out the answer to like that like form question and like finding out the answer to the tech question and just like getting your employees and the muscles working on that, that's the exact level that we're at. And then you're a growing part of the, you know, membership, like the Omaha, you know, Bitcoin scene. So, and then next year, you're literally like running advertisements like at your store for like Bitcoin Day Omaha, and then we double next year, and then we double the year after that. So that's happened. So outside of businesses, so okay, so what happens if, so we've talked a lot about business owners, and that was awesome having a bunch of business owners in here. Now let's talk about meetup organizers, because that's the other part of it. And so, because there's this good relationship between business owners and meetup organizers. And so I'm going to throw this wallet up on the screen. Wallet of Satoshi is my favorite just go-to starter Lightning wallet. So what I love about this wallet is it's on-chain Bitcoin and it's Lightning Bitcoin in a single balance. So as you're just like getting into Bitcoin and telling other people about it, single balance. And so you can settle to on-chain if you need to. You can also receive Lightning if you need to. So as you're a meetup organizer and you're organizing Omaha or you're organizing Sioux Falls or you're organizing what city you're in, what's going to happen is you might not strike it lucky the first time, and when you try to talk to bar owners, you know, you go to 5 of them, they're not down, whatever, but you start meeting at a business, or 3, 4, 5 of you start meeting up to talk about Bitcoin anyways, and it's, you know, every Tuesday at this brewery, whatever, but we don't know the owner. Like, we just meet here because it's open and perfect. Literally perfect. That's literally how I met Steven, who's like talking up next. So he tweeted out one day, also, this is the power of Twitter. All of you need to be on Twitter as you're getting your businesses going. Because when you tweet out, like, hey, my dentist shop takes Bitcoin. Hey, we just installed our first Bitcoin payment processor. Like, we'll bump you. You saw what happened at Nextburger, and like, we'll bump you. And that's another benefit you're giving to your clients is like, hey, we're tying you into this growing movement that's happening. So a tool in your belt for this stage also is I love tipping bartenders. Because, so anyone who's been in sales and like, getting the owners hard, getting the decision makers hard, and you have to like really have your ducks in a row. You know, Bitcoin's like still this just kind of edgy thing. I'm not really sure, but like don't know. But what's the bartender paid to do? Talk to you. Like, so use that. Use that. You're literally there drinking and paying them anyways, and then throw flyers out like, hey, let me tip you in Bitcoin. Like you bring it up through the whole thing, and might have to try a few times, but it's like let me tip you in Bitcoin. So we already solved how you do that. What's the app that you use on your side? Strike app. So that's what you use on your side. That's what you use on your side. Don't pay them out of your Coinbase. Don't pay them out of your Cash App because you're stacking your Bitcoin. You pay them with Strike app. So that's how we solve that issue. All right, so what does the bartender need to run? They need to open up their local app store and download Wallet of Satoshi. And the reason for that is because it's a single balance. So when they build up a giant Lightning balance and they get more and more orange pilled, they can dump it to an on-chain wallet. They don't have to stay in Lightning the whole time. And because it just has a really easy 2-word backup. So we've heard all about seed phrases and just everything like that. Really easy 2-word backup. And so they just email themselves the backup words, and they're backed up. So that's why. And the power of this is that then, so meetups starts with 2 or 3 people. You tweet it out, or you meet people here. You keep talking, and you design your regular cadence, and then you tweet out hey, this bartender's down, and more Bitcoin. You find more Bitcoiners off Twitter. We were tweeting about this conference, and someone replied and said, I had no idea that was in my town. Guys, there's no way that, look at my hat. So Bitcoin 100,000. There's no way that Bitcoin is at 50,000, and there's other people in Omaha that don't do this thing. I know there's 100, 200 of us here today. There's no way, 10,000, 15,000. I don't. What's the population of Omaha? 100? Right at 100? 70? Okay, cool. 700. Good. There's no way that 50,000 minimum have Bitcoin, a little bit of Bitcoin in some random account, Coinbase accounts, just everything. And so you can help these people because you're the local grassroots of this here, and from everyone that drove in here. We have people that, we do our meetup in Anaheim. People drive from San Diego. People drive from 2 hours away. There's people that drive from Palm Springs and drive from Las Vegas, okay? So when you do this and you get momentum, you're putting yourself on the map, and you're helping lead, this thing that's happening. So what I would say also, all right, so we talked about spending versus hodling, talked about the definition. We talked about wallet. So wallet of Satoshi is just a simple starter wallet. So they don't even need a Bitcoin payment processor. Just start with a wallet. Bitcoin wallets are powerful themselves. And this, so even if you talk to one-off, one-man shop liquor store owners, you don't have to jump to the software as a service or to the free and open source, a little bit harder to deploy, method. You can start them off on a wallet. That's tougher for you payment processor guys to start them off like this, but it's perfect for you meetup people because places like Nextburger are gold. I've been working in Orange County since 2019, and we just got Nextburger this year. So Steven started us in 2019, and we just got Nextburger this year. So it takes time to develop, but every single person you can bring to the meetups is good. So all right, so we talked about bartenders meetups. We talked about how you don't need to price in sats. Keep pricing in USD, and if you offer a discount, that's terrific. If you offer whatever way you can do to kind of like Star Wars, show that I'm taking this money for a reason, you could do that. And so sometimes offering a discount helps on that. Or offering hey, a free soda with the burger or whatever. What I love about Bitcoin is very optimistic. I don't want to be, do we have precious metals people in here? I don't want to be a gold bug that's saying the sky's falling. There's a lot of synergies with that. But when I talk about Bitcoin, the legacy world doesn't even actually need to implode for Bitcoin to work. Bitcoin is working. It's just if at a minimum, all it did was squish credit card fees down to 0, and then these guys had to do consulting work and get their fee a little different way. That's awesome. If at a minimum, and then you factor that with the hard cap to where people that are working and don't own any assets that only get inflated, at a minimum, that's still super beneficial for humanity. And so that's why I'm so just excited and in my head sooner rather than later. But in either scenario, my day-to-day of talking about this stuff and on my day job of helping people get their retirement accounts out of index funds into money that can serve them better, and or at least have given them the option to do that, is still stuff I'm doing. So fast or slow, my day-to-day is the same.